Rastafari love. Greetings family. We are here once again in a very, very special place right now. As I say, we're in the north of Ethiopia in a place called Bahir Dar, which is a small town nestled on the shores of the ancient lake Tana. And today we would like to share with you a project that is taking place here in Bahir Dar, and a project that I personally, and I know a lot of I around the world, feel very inspired by. So I would like to welcome to the show beautiful Sister Mena.
You're too kind.
And I will let I would say, please to start, please if you could give us a little introduction of yourself, who you are, and this journey, you know, starting from England, ending up right here in Bahir Dar of all places. We're going to go a bit deeper into the centre and everything that happens here, but right now if we could do a little introduction on how did we end up here right now.
Okay, so for years I've been working with disabled people in London, and I had a little boy who was Ethiopian, and his behaviour changed a lot, and his father said he was going to send him back to Ethiopia. And at the same time I got an offer to do some voluntary work here in Ethiopia with a friend of mine. So I came to Bahir Dar initially just to volunteer in another project, but when I got here that project was bogus. But I met a lot of disabled children, and more to the point, I met their mothers, and their mothers were really struggling because there's no services here. And having come from England where there are services, I was looking at children thinking, oh my God, I could help her, or I could help that mother. And so I was going back to England, and one of the mothers said, I know you won't come back, you Ferengies are all the same. So I said, yeah, but I'm not like other Ferengies, I'll be back. So 3 months later I came back, and originally I used to work for 6 months in England, save my money, come back to Bahir Dar and run the project for 6 months. But as you can see, the children are so disabled that when you do 6 months of physio and they start to make a change and then you're away for 6 months, by the time I came back the children weren't making any progress. So I was asking Ja to send me an answer to that. And then one day a French lady came, and at the time I was working on my own, so I had 6 children and they were all covered in caca, and it was just a mess when she came, so I couldn't really talk to her, and I was busy doing diapers and things, and she went back to France, and about 2 weeks later she called me and said that she wanted to fund the project, which was great because it meant that I could stay in Bahir Dar longer. I didn't have to go back to England and earn money. The money that they started to sponsor me with enabled me to hire staff, which enabled me to have more children, which is a blessing. It covered food, covered diapers. In the beginning, it really, without it, I couldn't have run the project. Unfortunately, times have changed, and they still give us the same money, which I am extremely grateful for. I'm not knocking that at all. But obviously, costs have changed. So, in the beginning also, I had 6 children, and now I've got 24. So that money obviously doesn't do the same as it did before. So at the moment, we're struggling.
For real. And that's something we're going to talk about, like if there are people watching right now that would like to support the works going on here, we're going to give all the details of how you can support and get involved as well. So I would mention you used to run, as you mentioned there, before you moved into the building, you used to actually run the centre from your own home, which I think, not a lot of people would be able to do. You're opening your own space for these children to come every day. Could you tell us a little bit about that time when you first started up the project and the journey to being able to now get a building and be based here?
Well, in the beginning it was tough because I also adopted 6 children who were from poorer families, so they were kind of living in a project, and it was all very it was difficult to live in a project, but it was the only way I could see at that time that I could help the children and live here, because I couldn't afford rent for 2 properties, and we were living like that for a long while. And to be honest, it did start to get me down, because as I got older I just want my own home. I wanted to be able to leave my home and go to work, not just walk down the stairs and I'm at work. And so I did an interview with Ashetu, the comedian, and a lot of the time I was talking about how I just really wanted my own home. Like I wanted me and my children to have our own home and the project to be separate. And so many people sent money in to cover my rent for the year, which then enabled me to rent a separate house. So it's still rented under the project because disabled children live with me. So I have 4 disabled children that live with me. So it's kind of like a residential arm of the project, but those children are like family. They're mine. So they come to the project every day, and then 21 other children come to the project every day. But it took a while to move, to separate my family from my work. And in the beginning I didn't mind it too much, and then after a while I did start to yearn for my own home and just not to wake up to the smell of diapers.
Yeah. And obviously, you need your space, you know, to recharge, because when you are giving, I see somebody always giving, sharing everything you have. So you also need, your time to recharge. And so we should mention at this point the name of the centre, the One Heart Wholeness Centre. Could you tell us about some of the activities then that are offered here, some of the services that are given for the children?
Okay, so all of our services are based around physiotherapy. So we do like water therapy, music therapy, sensory play, but the idea is with each activity you're actually doing physio. So if you're doing music therapy, for instance, you would do hand on hand with the children, holding a musical instrument and doing like this. So they're making music, but they're also exercising and loosening their joints. So we do water therapy here, but what we've come to realise is I give thanks for the pool. It was donated. I'm very appreciative of it, but it's not very deep. Yeah. So for some of the bigger children, it's not any good for exercise as such. So it's great for the children to just relax in the water and feel their bodies more in the water. But in terms of actually doing physiotherapy exercise, we need a pool. So we did start to go to Cariftu, but that's proving very expensive. So I'm thinking to move to Homeland or Papyrus, but an outdoor pool so that we can do community presence and the water therapy. It's good for the children to be out in their own community, and it's good for the community to see them.
Definitely.
And a lot of people, I used to think, to be honest, people didn't like them. But what I've realised when I take them out is that people are just curious because they're hidden now, like they used to be in Europe a long time ago. People don't see them. So when they do see them, they look. And that's understandable. If you see a child with a massive head, of course you're going to look. So what I find though is if I start to engage that person and I'll say, oh, this is Asta de Mariam, she's got hydrocephalus, they change completely and they're very kind and understanding. They ask me often, are they in pain? And when I say no, they're not in any pain, then they enjoy talking to them. And it is really about getting them into the community, getting people to see them and realise that they're just children. They're just little people. And the more that people accept them, the more they grow, I think.
Definitely. And I mean, even like for INA, for us visiting this time, even you mentioned Asta de Mariam, there was another boy, I think his name is Emmanuel. The other day I was inside the center and just like to share an experience, I saw him in his wheelchair and I was interacting, but you don't know how much sometimes that the children are picking up what's going on around them. And so I was just sitting and suddenly he's reached out and grabbed my arm, and when I look he had started laughing and he was interacting with me. So it's really amazing for me because, as you say, sometimes you don't know, or there's a stigma in the society, like you say, but once people actually start to communicate with the children, you just see it, and it's such an amazing thing as well to see them communicating and picking up on what's going on, and so many smiles and laughs and so much happiness inside this centre has really made a touching impact on ANA. So I would ask, maybe could you tell us, you mentioned it there, maybe some of the effects that you've seen, like when bringing the children for the walks and to the pool and into the public, like maybe some of the response from the public, how maybe this stigma or this negative ideas have maybe changed through the work that's being done.
100% it changes, because I think if you're not giving information about something, then you believe all the stigma. You have no other information. Yeah, and when you tell people, oh, this little boy has microcephalus, for instance, and they don't know what that means, and then I'll explain that there's no water on his brain, and his brain is small, and he gets terrible headaches, you can see their hearts. Because humans, they're just children. So most people do respond really positively when you give them the chance. When you assume that people are not going to like them, then you make that decision for that person. But if you take a child to them, if they're not interested, then okay. But most people, I have found that when you start to talk to them, especially if you call them by name, so I'll say, this is Mikias and he loves music, or this is Amani and he loves water. Once you start talking to them as human beings, they respond to them as human beings. And since the Shetu's interview, I have had so many young people, children. I had a group of children came, they raised money to buy a yoga ball, and they were really interested to meet the children. And I was trying to say to them, with these children, you don't know how much they understand. Yeah, there's a video of a famous girl who's got cerebral palsy, and she literally is all the time like this. But if you put her in front of a laptop, she types. And she'll type and say, nobody knows how it feels to be in my body. No, and she wrote a letter to her father saying, thank you for just loving me. Because when you see her, she can't communicate. And you would think she can't communicate. Now she runs her own website where she gives information to families who've got children with CP. Because you don't know what's going on inside their brains.
Yeah.
They could all be geniuses for all we know.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
And so could you share with us maybe like some of the examples of the children coming to this centre? Like one of the reasons that we've come up to Bahir Dar finally after 5 years of wanting to come is because last weekend you were celebrating Minty's 16th birthday.
Yeah.
So Minty is one of your longest attending children here at the centre. And I would let you tell the story. I know you've shared with me a few things about his story and the things that the doctors had said prior to his being here. So could you tell us a bit, you've shared the response of the people, but maybe a little bit about the response of the children themselves and some of the progress that they've made and how they react to the activities and the interaction.
Well, the progress is small. It takes a long time. I see the progress, but most people, if they're not walking like this, they think there's no progress. But if you look at Minty, so I got Minty when Minty was 5 years old. And he has Down syndrome. So most children with Down syndrome will have a heart issue. That's common. So when I took him to find out what his heart issue is, he has a disease called Eisenmenger syndrome. And they told me in Addis, that he would have 6 months and then he would die. So they told us to bring him back home and that he would die. And so for 6 months we watched him all the time, waiting to see a sign that he was going to leave us. I prayed like I've never prayed in my life. Like you said, last weekend we celebrated 16 years. So I always think what doctors say and what God says are two different things. So when the doctors told us, take him home, he's going to die, God said, like, no, he's not. And Minty's not never I think there's something about if you believe you're going to die, then you but Minty never processed that information. So Minty just kept going. And now he's hit 16 and he's the biggest joy. He really is the sweetest little boy ever. And I give thanks for every day that we have him, obviously. And because we thought we wouldn't have him for very long. But as I say, now he's grand. Some of the first child I got, Hikma, she's had to leave now because there comes a point where there's no more you can do for them. So if you teach them to walk, you teach them to feed themselves, you teach them to dress themselves, there's little more that you can do. So when we taught her all those things, we had to stop the service. But for us, that's what our aim is, to get them as independent as we can get them, because there's no other service. So whereas in other countries, once they finished with our service, they'd go on, there's no other service. So unfortunately, we had to let her go. Elias is another one. He learnt to walk and he's able to look after himself. So, I mean, I love the success stories, but the sad thing is that then they leave. You know, we can't help them any more than that. But for most of them, I mean, if you look at Sister Mena, they told us she would die in the operation. Then they told me if she survived the operation, she'd be a vegetable. And they said that she would never do anything for herself. But again, God is great, because you've seen Sister Mena. There's no way she's a vegetable. I mean, even the doctor who did her operation, before he was going to Sudan, he came to see her. And it was like as if she did it on purpose. She was lying on her back, and as he came in the door, she turned over, she looked at him and she smiled. And he was like, this is a miracle, Mena. She shouldn't be able to do this. And I believe if you give every child as much chance as you can give them, you do everything that you can to give them an opportunity, then what more can you do? And with Sister Mena, it was simply let her have the operation and see, because if she didn't have the operation, she was going to die. She was already like close to death. So it was like, if she's going to die anyway, give her a chance. Now she's amazing. She's just the most incredible little being, and she started to talk. I think one day she will walk, and I think she will be a great asset for hydrocephalus. You know, she's a good advertisement that you can have hydrocephalus and still have a good life.
Definitely. And I'm gonna give you a quick hug then. Ndalu is another one that's full of smiles.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, maybe could you tell us a bit about his case?
Ndalu is amazing human. Like you say, he's always smiling. But he also has a hernia that came through his esophagus into his chest. The doctors have told us that's extremely painful. He vomits a lot, he coughs up blood a lot. He's got dislocated hips, both of his hips are dislocated. He needs an operation to get that fixed. And he's in pain. So he's in pain in his chest and he's in pain in his hips, and yet he wakes up every morning with the most amazing smile on his face. And if anybody makes me like check myself every day and be grateful every day, is that boy. And he's just no trouble, he's just a complete joy, and yet his life is difficult. I watched him the other day, and a fly, it made me sad for how vulnerable he is, because a fly crawled into his mouth, onto his tongue, and I was looking at him thinking, you can't even do that to get that away from him. Obviously I moved it and I put a mask on him and everything, but it just made me understand how vulnerable he is, and yet he's got the most amazing attitude to life. So he's a joy. Yeah,
definitely. And it makes us realize, you know, how sometimes we're complaining about such stupid things in life, and there are these children that are going through such challenges but still smiling, and you know,
every day.
Yeah, it's really an amazing thing. And so obviously, of course, we should mention maybe some of the parents of these children. You know, their responses also, I mean, all around positive response.
We've been blessed.
Yeah. What I wanted to ask is, have you gained any support from the local Kebele, from the local government or the administration for this project?
No, we've had visitors from Women and Children's Affairs, for instance. We were given an award from Women and Children's Affairs for our work, which was very sweet. But in terms of, I've been making applications for land so that we could build our own building, and that's not been very forthcoming. We don't get any support from the Kebele or from the government. I mean, I've been told by government officials that my children have no economic value. It's very difficult for me to talk to a human being who measures other human beings in economic value. That's just ridiculous to me. So I can't continue a conversation with someone like that. So I kind of feel like we just do it on our own. We do what we have to do, and we do it on our own. they're not going to help. So I have to just do it.
And so if there is anyone, it would be a good point now then to raise, if there is anybody watching that would like to support the works of the project, what are some of the things right now that would be the priorities that would be needed? For example, you mentioned the diapers. What are the areas that really need to be addressed?
Well, diapers is the big one, because all of the children, well, only 2 of them now are toilet trained, but the rest of them are all doubly incontinent, and diapers are expensive. I mean, I have tried like contacting diaper companies or something to get some kind of sponsorship, but I've not been very lucky with that. That would be like a major thing for us. Other things, like obviously we buy teff regularly, which is ridiculous amount. Like we go through 100 kilos of teff in 2 weeks, because the children have breakfast, lunch, and then a snack before they go. So food, I mean, money is always a good one.
Yes. Yes.
Donations is always a good one. Diapers is a good one. Visitors, my children love people to interact with them, and so if anyone's ever in Bahir Dar, come and visit us, because I think people grow when they feel valued and loved and wanted, and I think especially for our children, they don't generally feel that. So if you're in Bahir Dar and you come and visit and just hug a few children, that would be amazing for us.
Yeah, definitely. So please hear those words, and if you are in Bahir Dar, if you need more information, if you're watching right now, you can drop your comment, you can send us a message, and we'll give you all the details that you need. Where can people send if they want to donate? Do you have a GoFundMe? Do you have any pages set up?
We have a website.
Okay.
www.ohwc.et.org. I'll give it to you.
Yeah.
Actually, having said that, I need to change the bank account details on that. We do have a bank account. I can give you the details. We bank with Dashen Bank. We did have a GoFundMe, but there are issues about getting the money from Europe to Ethiopia. And it was difficult to set up a GoFundMe in Ethiopia. So really the only way to do it is through the website, and you can donate direct to our charity bank account. We have had people visit and want to give us cash. As I said, really grateful, I appreciate that, but I don't like that people to bring cash to the project, and especially not to give it to staff members. My preference is that you pay it into the bank account. So I'll give you the bank account details.
Yeah, definitely.
That's the best way.
Okay. And so another question I want to ask, you mentioned about when you first came to Ethiopia and you had the opportunity to come and do some NGO work. And obviously we know Ethiopia is a very special place for a lot of people. So I wanted to ask about Ethiopia itself. Obviously you could have come here, you could have had some vibes, but you might have chosen to stay outside or any other country in the world. So I would say, what made you really decide that Ethiopia is definitely the place that you are going to decide to settle and do this project?
To be honest, Mike, I never made that decision.
Okay.
I came here to volunteer for 3 months, and it kind of snowballed.
Yeah.
And I'm a big believer in following your guidance. So at the same time as thinking about what I should do, my son got pregnant. And I've been waiting to be a grandmother for I don't know how long, and he tells me I'm going to be a grandmother, and it was just like, what do I do? So I was praying and praying and praying, and then I got on the bus in Brixton, and I found a prayer card. Did you hear that story?
No, don't think so.
Oh my God! I got on the 35 bus outside Vassal Road to go towards Brixton, and it was empty. Just come from the Oval.
Yeah.
And I went upstairs on the bus. Bus is empty. I can sit anywhere I like. And all the time I'm talking to Joe, help me make this decision, because in our culture, grandparents raise their grandchildren. And I sat down on this chair. Like I said, I could have sat anywhere. And there on the chair was a prayer card, Tekla Haymanot's prayer card. I didn't know who Tekla Haymanot was. at the time, but I knew it was Ethiopian, and I felt that that was a sign from God that he wanted me to come to Ethiopia. So I followed that guidance, and when I spoke to my son, he was like, Mum, just live your life and do what you feel you need to do. Your grandchild's your grandchild. So I have a very strong relationship with my granddaughter. I love her to bits, and I hope that she understands why I made this decision. But in the end, I felt that she has a whole family in Europe, and some of these children have nobody. 2 years ago, she came out to Bahir Dar, and I think it had been in her, but when she came and she saw the children and she saw my work, she said, "Now I understand, Nanny, why you're here," and she forgave me, I think.
Okay.
So that was good.
Yeah,
that was a good one.
Definitely, and I think, as you say, I think it was the Most High who bring you here to do these works here, because anybody who you ask about Sister Mena, they will tell you, yes, Sister Mena, I know her, she's an angel in real life, so we give much thanks for that. I know you're not going to say that. I know you're not going to say that, but we're going to say that.
Thank you.
So, obviously, just a little bit about Bahir Dar. Like, it's a beautiful place. You've got you ended up here on the road that leads up to His Majesty's Palace from Majesty's time, and obviously His Imperial Majesty would be very, very proud, I think, of the works that the IA is doing.
Thank you.
His Majesty and Empress Menen, as we know, stood for education and hospital and all of these things. So I want to say, give thanks for the example that you set for ANA and the rest of the community worldwide. Is there any other message that you would now share with the people watching and listening around the world?
Oh my God, I have so many messages. If it's around disability, my thing definitely would be just give people a chance. You don't know what they're capable of, who they are, until you give people a chance. I believe 100% that God doesn't make any mistakes. So when God made these children the way He made them that way for a reason. And if you give them a chance, for me, they're the most incredible teachers. They teach you unconditional love. They can teach you patience. They teach you perseverance. I've watched a disabled child take more than 45 minutes to put a sock on. But if I said, "Can I help you?" No, they're determined to do it. But regular children will kick off and have a tantrum when they can't do something. These children are amazing human beings. And when I came here, I have a favourite picture of His Majesty. Everyone must have seen it. You know where he's on this road and he's under the jacaranda trees, and he's in the Jeep and he's standing up under the jacaranda. So when I came here, it was like, oh my God, this is where His Majesty went past that. So for me, this holy ground. So when I came, I just wanted to be here. When I got the phone call from the man who owns this house in America, and he said, "You can have this house for next to nothing," it's like, I think Jah guides me, protects me. It's not easy. Living in Ethiopia is not easy. I don't speak Amharic, which is my fault, I know, but it's a big challenge. But ultimately, I never felt closer to God anywhere in the world than when I'm here in Ethiopia. And so all the trials and tribulations, I just know that when I talk to God, it's like He's, in an instant, He's there. Whereas when I'm in England, it takes me time to get to that place where I can feel His presence. Here, I can sit on the bank of the Nile and He's there. I love it here.
Definitely. And we give much thanks for the time and for the works and for the reasoning. What else can we ask? I think that's pretty much everything for now. I would ask, maybe for our listeners at Fairfield House, could you share with us something about His Majesty's house up on the lake? You said you used to visit sometimes with the children.
I was so blessed. Years ago I was blessed. Before now it's all changed. But a friend of mine knew the guard, and they allowed us to sneak into His Majesty's palace. When you just feel like you're just special. I could sit on his bed. I sat on his toilet, which I know is irreverent, but and you just feel so close to him. And if you go up to the palace, now it's all changed because of the war. But you used to be able to climb down, And there's a tree that His Majesty used to sit on. There's pictures of him sitting there reading to his children. So when we used to be able to climb down, you just feel the presence of His Majesty, and you feel the peace and there's just a bliss down there. When people used to say to me, this is the Garden of Eden, I could believe that. It was just blissful. And I find this whole area to be like at night when there's not all this noise. It's quiet, it's calm, it's peaceful. You know, I wake up every morning and I feel blessed. I feel like Jah really blessed me. He gave me a beautiful life, and He gave me the opportunity to do His work. You know, sometimes to do Jah's work is difficult, and He made it really easy for me to do what He needs me to do. So I give thanks. I wake up every morning. I live in Ethiopia. Sometimes I'll be talking to my friends and I'm like, yeah, I'm just crossing the River Nile. Yeah, and there's a monkey outside and I'm watching the hippos. Oh, blessed. So blessed. I give thanks to Jah every day.
Yes. All right, family. Thank you for watching. Don't forget, if you would like to support, don't forget, please, we're going to put the information at the bottom of the screen, so please get in touch, drop us an email, drop your comments and all those things. Once again, I would like to say give much thanks to Sister Mena for all of the works that you do here and the inspiration and the light and the love and the happiness that you bring to the lives of these children, yeah? And as we know, it's not always... you know, some of them don't always manage to overcome the challenges that they're facing, but just even for the short time that they might have to be able to be surrounded with love and all of these things, it really makes a difference. So we really give thanks to that. If we had any kind of award, we would give you that award as well. And
can I just say though, it's not just me. I have a whole team of people. My daughter Elsa now works with me in the project. She feels like a little mini me. I now have people around the children that love them. So it's not just me. I started it, but I couldn't do it on my own. So I'd like to give thanks to all the people who help me on a daily basis, and also all the people who have donated in the past. Without your love and support, we wouldn't be here. You know, I couldn't fill their lives with joy if I didn't have the support that I have. So I give thanks to Arms in France for supporting me for the last 6 years. And Ashetu for being an absolute star, for Tigist in London who does lots of fundraising for me, for yourselves for taking your time out to come to Bahir Dar and visit our children, and for Jah. Give thanks.
Rastafari. Give thanks, family, live and direct from the One Heart Wholeness Centre in Bahir Dar, Ethiopia. We give thanks.
Thank you.
Home with the brave, land of the free. Home with the brave, land of the free. Rastafari, the brave, land of the free. Cradle of humanity for you and for me. Home for the brave, land of the free. Cradle of humanity for you and for me. Said it's a home for the brave, it's a land of the free.